Reports of a shooting and hostage-taking in southwestern France. According to Agence France-Presse, a news agency, a police officer was shot and a man has taken hostages at a supermarket in two separate incidents. The policeman was shot in the town of Carcassonne, while a gunman fired shots during a hostage-taking Friday morning at a supermarket in the nearby town of Trèbes, just 15 minutes drive away. Officials are saying that the gunman is claiming allegiance to the Islamic State group. Let's cross now to France 24's Chris Bockman, who's in Toulouse. Chris, clearly a developing story, but what more can you tell us?
Well, I think one thing we need to know is that Carcassonne's actually got quite a big military barracks there. There's a large military presence in that city. And so if there has been an attack deliberately focusing on that shooting on the military, that could be one reason why, because of the high military presence there. We're also right now at the anniversary. I don't want to put too many things too close together, but we're at the 6th anniversary of the Mera attacks in Toulouse, which is taking place now, the commemoration events. Could that be a link? Is he claiming also the Daesh connection? So that's also something which we can't be ruled out. On the other hand, we've also had other gunmen who've held supermarkets and banks hostage in the past in this region, who've also claimed to be connected to Islamic fanatics, and they haven't. They've actually just been unstable people. So at the moment, it is a developing story. I wouldn't put too much into the emphasis about the Daesh connection yet. However, there is our large military presence in that city, which is also a very touristy place. As many people know, it's called the City de Carcassonne, which has a beautiful medieval walled fortress town. So there'll be a lot of tourists there as well, especially as the weekend is we're in the weekend.
Chris, again, just recapping, we're hearing that a police officer has been injured and hostages have been taken. Do we have any idea as to the well-being of those hostages, whether the police have managed to at least contain the area?
No, I'm actually on my way there now, and from what I understand, the police have sealed off the area, so we don't have access, so we don't actually know what the situation is with the hostages. Clearly, if they're going to a local supermarket, they will have relatives who live in the area, and they'll be making their way and probably trying to call them, but they're probably being told that they can't use their phones in that supermarket. So I think at the moment, we really just don't know what's going on.
As you say, it's very much a developing story, Chris, and you're on your way to the actual area. But just give us a sense about Trèbes and Carcassonne. I mean, they're fairly close together. They're only about 15 minutes drive apart, I understand.
That's right. I mean, Trèbes is actually right next to the quite well-known the Canal du Midi, the very beautiful canal which goes from around Bordeaux down towards Narbonne. It's a kind of a sleepy town on the outskirts of Carcassonne. A lot of actually houseboats are actually moored along the canal over there. A lot of people who work in Carcassonne live in Trèbes. Like I said, it's a very sleepy part of the southwest of France, really, and a lot of tourists go there as well by bike along the canal. It's not something you associate with this kind of thing. Like I say, it's a very residential community. It's a very leafy community. Usually it's basking in sunlight. It's a very good climate down there. And again, Carcassonne's a very touristy place. Many people who go down on the coast, they stop off in Carcassonne because of the amazing fortress, medieval fortress town, which is right next to the modern part of Carcassonne. On the other hand, it has a large military presence. It's actually not a very wealthy city. It's quite poor. Like much of that part of France, it feels kind of cut off from the prosperous part of Toulouse and Montpellier. It feels kind of far away from those. And they have quite a big high unemployment rate and a large immigrant population who used to work in the agriculture and in the vineyards around Carcassonne.
Chris, you were saying there that today is actually the 6th anniversary of the events in Toulouse where Mohamed Merah shot a number of school children and two French soldiers. Just recap what actually happened on that day and what's happened since.
Mohamed Merah, if you may remember, was just basically a French-born local youth of Algerian origin who didn't have many jobs and went into delinquency, and then he sort of turned and went to Afghanistan and Pakistan and Algeria, where he became a fanaticized young youth, came back and he attacked soldiers in Montauban. And then he killed another soldier in Toulouse. And then, of course, ultimately, he went on a shooting spree at a Jewish school, killing 3 people there. And then, of course, when he was found, he was holed up in a flat in Toulouse for a couple of days before he was actually killed by special French forces. And that was really, at the time, it was the first kind of the wave that we've known since then of attacks by often lone wolves, as they called them, or organized by Daesh in the Middle East on European targets, and especially French ones. And it happened over a week's period in this part, in Toulouse and Montauban. And so the commemoration events really just started a couple of days ago, and they're continuing now as ceremonies are held in Montauban at the school and elsewhere in the region to remember those awful events that happened here 6 years ago.
Chris, stay with us because we'll come back to you in a second. And for